Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and in this video we are going to finish off the playthrough Kickstarter preview of the Sands of Shurax. This has been a lot of fun to put together for you guys, and really hope this helps you make an informed decision on the Kickstarter, which is currently ongoing. Now, where we left off in the last video was we were just on the verge of heading out in a caravan back to the waste. But just before we do that, I want to make mention of one of the corrections from the last video that I noted in the pinned comment that is definitely something worth mentioning to ensure there's no confusion. When I was in combat in the last video, around the 2340 mark and the 2645 mark, I had actually indicated when I used my attack here that it cost me 2 energy in order to do that attack. Well, that's just simply not true. These hexes right here, these little ones, are what these stats started at to begin the actual playthrough for my character. So again, I must have not had enough coffee prior to actually doing that combat round. There would be absolutely no energy cost on the attack or defend use item, but you can see here if I use the first mastery, it would cost me 1 energy, or the secondary mastery would cost me 1 energy. This is something worth noting, but didn't have any major impact on gameplay as I hurt myself and didn't gain any advantage anyway. So we actually gain a gold back because we have a discount at the city when we buy items, and when I bought that caravan, which costs 4 to head out at the end of the last video, it cost me 4, but it should have been -1 due to being in the same area or quadrants of reputation as the city of Drea. So because of that, that 1 discount is going to put 1 extra gold in our pocket, bringing this up to 21. So at the end of the last video, where we pick it up from is the purchase of the Caravan Journey. It says, crossing the desert is arduous. Join a caravan departing this place at the end of this event phase, which is literally going to be right now because I'm choosing it to be the end. I have no more items I want to pick up. Draw a random caravan master or choose one who is already waiting here. So we're going to have to draw a new one. In this case, travel to any other caravan location or city state on the board. So we could actually go to a different city as well. But again, as I talked to you guys about in the last video, I want to go back to the waste because the Ravager is set to go back underground, leaving a crystal tower for us to go and harvest. And I want to do that as part of the end of this finale, and we'll see what else we can do in conjunction with that. So now we come to a decision, and this is actually really cool. Now remember how we had Noskal actually take us through the hot tiles or the wastes and bring us to the city of Drea, and we successfully got Noskal there without inflicting anything on his vitals. In other words, Noskal is still alive. So because he is alive, when you get a caravan master to a location, that caravan master then stays at that location and is usable in the future if you leave that particular caravan location. So that's actually really good. So we have the option of taking this particular individual again if we, really enjoyed our time with him, if the stats happen to line up, if we like everything about what it can potentially give us, all that good stuff. We have that option. If we choose not to use Noskal, this card still stays in that city for future use. He's still alive. But every single time we choose to travel in a caravan, we always get to reveal the next card if it hasn't been revealed anyway. So we can take a look at the next one to see whether that's one we'd like to do or not. So we're going to go ahead and reveal this one first to see what another option could be coming out of the city. Okay, so this one here is Bal. I'm going to say it's Bal. I'll go with that. The Enslaver. Item cost is +3 with this individual, so that's +3 extra gold when at the bazaar using the caravan, which means you can only buy things that are valued to 3 gold, but of course that extra item cost will bump that right up to a max of 6. So again, a little bit more vicious on the item cost there, so that's already a tick against him. Vitals are the same. It looks like in terms of alignment with the stats, uses health, attacking, and the navigate skill, versus we have over here, this was energy. We had our first mastery and our second mastery with Noskal. Moving along, we'll go ahead and talk through, or at least I'll read this centerpiece out. You can see, of course, even if we get this individual successfully to its location with full vitals, full health, and alive, very different conditions on the bottom that we'll gain in terms of rewards, but could be really could really twist us in terms of a strategy as to which one to do if we're really trying to get certain stats. It is really nice to get these ones, being that it says we can go ahead and upgrade skills. This is also something I want to mention too. earlier on in the last video, and I shouldn't say earlier on, actually the last video, we got this bonus, 2 skills plus 1, 1 skill plus 1. Skills are labeled as skills on the player board. That would be things like navigate, explore, and survival. These are the only things you could upgrade. You couldn't upgrade the ones on the far left, which are considered abilities. Now I went ahead and I might have actually cheated there a little bit and upgraded some skills in the wrong spots. Wanted to make mention of that to be sure that the terminology sticks with you guys. So who do we want to choose? Well, I kind of wanted to go with the new Caravan Master, but the more I look at this individual, the more I want to go back with Noskal, even though it's nice to see what this one could have done. I'll read out this middle part so we can find out more about him. So Bal is an irritable dwarf who made quite the name for himself in Terry's patrol. His brutality is renowned, for he sold out his own village to Terrian slavers, including his own parents and siblings. So you can guarantee you he is loved in the family. It is rumored that he works for the Emperor Noko directly now, for his caravan displays Noko's banners as if it were a badge of honor. Of course, those who see it flee. That is, if they are right of mind. So these guys just don't want to stick around when this individual comes through with his caravan. Special, if the group's reputation does not match Terry's when you depart, each hero must assist on at least one caravan. So that means when these caravan events get pulled out, we have to make sure we do at least one. At the end of the journey, all heroes roll survival, and if half the group fails, so in my case, if I fail, the group is imprisoned too and sent to Terry. So that, I mean, that doesn't really sound like something I want to have happen, and I really don't necessarily need these bump ups in. Now you can see here the stat, they're no longer talking about skills for this. As I mentioned, these are going to be abilities, but I don't know if that risk is worth it to be imprisoned. I'm probably going to stick with our friend Noskal. So let's head on our journey. I could choose to buy something from the bazaar, but I have enough rations. I have the survival kit, the poultice, the hardy rations, the king elixir. I'm good. And again, we can actually purchase things from the bazaar from Noskal while on this journey in between caravan events, as I mentioned earlier on. So we're going to start off with the very first one in the first position and see what we run into. We've got ourselves Lost Ruins. That sounds pretty cool. So this says, you've uncovered a long lost ruin. Assist the Caravan Master in exploring it. If you roll a critical failure, okay, so that's not good, lose 1 rank in a stat of your choice. Yeah, that really isn't good. If you roll a critical success, you find a teleport scroll. Teleport scrolls, those are handy. That would absolutely be a nice advantage for us. It says the group may use a teleport scroll once outside of combat to teleport to any event location on the map. So that's really awesome. And again, you're not going to worry about that's just going to be fantastic for getting from one side to the other. It can be huge at certain points in the game if we happen to get lucky enough to roll a critical success. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. So I've got the dice set up, 2 10-sided dice for each of the stats here that we're going to be rolling. The very first one on the left-hand side is our first mastery. I'll be using the green die to represent that, and I have a 2 currently in that stat, meaning I need to get a 2 or a critical success to even succeed on that one. And again, remember, if you get successes, it's -2 off the energy drain. Crit success is going to be -4, and then a critical failure is going to jump the energy drain up by 2. Again, also remember, because based on the number of players is 2 + 1, so it's 3. We have 3 energy drain going into this. And then this one right here is the stat for Explore, so I've got the actual yellow Explore 10-sided die. So we're going to roll these off, and the stat level for the Explore for me is 3. So it's probably not very good odds, but we'll see how this pans out. Oh my gosh, I got a hex. What the heck? Okay, well, I mean, that's good. That's really good. Wow, okay. So that might actually do it right there, because a hex on any of these dice gives me a critical success, which is -4 off the 3 that this card would have done to me, so no energy drain whatsoever. Because I landed a critical success, I get the teleport scroll. Doesn't matter, I didn't even need that other die whatsoever, so that actually was fantastic. As you can see, I've got the teleport scroll in my backpack now. Now, one other thing that I just noticed while I was putting my teleport scroll in is that I kept my food fairly low when I left the city. That's not exactly the best thing to do when you're on a caravan journey. So knowing that the last one we just went through was a 1, there's a risk there that potentially the food requirement going into the rest of the caravan events or event, depending on how it pans out, could be high. And so because of that, it'd be a smart idea to use one of my crazy amount of items here to potentially boost my food rating so that I can ensure that at the end of the journey I can pay the food necessary without going into the levels of starving. Now, I didn't talk about this in any other videos, but there's a starving section here, and you can see you can basically go into certain levels of starving, and then of course you need to basically eat your way out of those levels to get back up to be able to even have food on you. So there's a whole game mechanism around that I'm not going to get into here because I'm likely going to try to avoid that, but it is really cool and definitely can be a problem in the wastes. So I'm going to go ahead and consume my hearty rations. I bought them for a reason, and this sounds like a great time to eat them. So I'm gonna go like that. I kind of half erased the poultice, but I'll fix that later. I gained 5 from those hearty rations. We're gonna go from 3 all the way up to 8, which is much better. And I'll go ahead and also correct the wording here that I half erased, and we'll head back and do that last caravan event. How about we continue our journey on the caravan and see what we run into next? So let's grab this last caravan event and hope it's the last one. We got ourselves a strange cavern. That's what we've run into. This is going to have a, oh my gosh, there's that food rating. Look at that, 3. So that is a good thing we went ahead and consumed the food we needed to in order to be able to handle that, because that would total up to, with the Lost Ruins, 4. And that would have put us into some trouble. That actually would have pushed us into the first level of starving. Now, that doesn't kill us or anything, but it certainly would not be a positive. So Strange Cavern here, this one is specific to first mastery and to second mastery in terms of the 2 icons in the center there. Energy drain is really high and could potentially get a lot worse if I get a lot of crits in there and my failures. The caravan has found an isolated cavern which leads deep underground. If any hero attempts this event, roll the 6-sided die. So we have a chance here to do this. Again, I'm actually kind of happy to keep Noskal from taking any damage whatsoever, and so far it looks like we'll be able to do that, I think. These options have, you find that it's empty, so basically wasting your time. You find 3 platinum, that's good. Platinum's good. You find a living rope. I'm not 100% sure what the living rope is, but I remember that from the city of Drea. I believe they were selling it there. Being that it's the greatest market in the world, I'm sure they're selling everything there. You find a bag of holding. That sounds like it increases how much I can carry, potentially, or something along those lines. Roll for a circumstance. That doesn't sound great, so that could really push something nasty at us. And the hex is face the lowest undefeated boss. It mutates twice on us. Oh my. So we don't have to do this, but if we don't do it, then what will happen is the caravan master will be hit by the energy drain, which will ensure that we don't get the +1 on the attack stat when we get to our destination. We will get the full health and the 1 gold for being alive. So there's that. But I kind of want to roll on this because I kind of want to get both of these bump ups for the combat. That'd just be super handy, especially if we're going out to the wastes and you never know what we're going to run into out there. Plus, it's fun to roll dice and see what happens, right? Nothing could ever go wrong. So here we go. Let's see how this pans out for us. A 1. You literally find nothing. Oh, well, I guess it could have been worse. It definitely could have been worse. So it is what it is, and that's all there is to that one. So we figured this out. We also have to ensure that we roll the skills to try to actually combat the energy drain, because we don't just get to roll the 6-sided die. Technically, I should have rolled the 10-sided dice first. We're going to use a green die to represent the purple, which is the first mastery, and a blue die to represent the blue die. We could actually use a blue 10-sided die. Actually, that's what I meant to do, to represent the second mastery. And we're going to go ahead here, roll these off, and see how we do. Now, 2 and 2 are the stats in there, so I need a 2 or a hex on either of these dice to hopefully help me in knocking the energy drain down. I did not get it. I actually ended up getting a critical failure, which is really upsetting because that adds 2 to this. So the 4 is already a 5. Now it goes up to a 7, and this did nothing for us. So 7 energy drain, and I don't want my Caravan Master to take any of it. So I am going to, as the commander, going to suck it up and drop my current energy from 10 down to 3. That was a huge hit. That's probably the biggest hit on a caravan that I've had thus far. So, and to get nothing in the cavern kind of was a waste to expend that much energy and not get anything out of it. But we have technically arrived in the waste. Our journey on the caravan is complete, and one thing I want to talk about is a timing thing. This is the end of the event phase as of right now, so we're going to be moving to the villain phase, but there's something that happens right now that hasn't happened before, and that is the Ravager is the villain, which is going to be activating right now, is going to dock into the sands, and when it does so, anything that it's on top of, including this cliff that we found very early on in the playthrough, is going to be utterly destroyed. So you're going to remove all of this stuff off of the game board, and you're going to replace it with a crystal deposit, something we can potentially harvest, which is what I was kind of hoping for. So the other thing you might be wondering is, well, what if, hypothetically, this Ravager had been somewhere over here while we were off in the city, and it had been sitting like this? If it had gone under, it would have destroyed the oasis, it would have destroyed the caravan location, and yes, indeed, it would literally drop a crystal formation right on top of that and destroy those 2 locations, meaning you'd think we wouldn't be able to get back into the waste. But how this game works, when that happens and you want to go back to the waste and there's no caravan place for you to go, you're going to go ahead and reveal hot tiles from the deck until you get a caravan space to go to. The only downside to that is if you had a plan to go to the waste, and you typically do for a specific reason, whether it be to go after other crystal towers or certain bosses, you might not get the caravan location exactly where you want it to be, and it could take some travel to get to where you want to go. But this didn't happen to us. I just wanted to explain that that can happen. So we currently sit 3 spaces away from this crystal tower, which I definitely want to get to, and technically as of right now we'll be beginning a new game turn. One thing that I do want to explain though is a little bit about act number 2 and when that triggers. Act 2 is going to begin when the number of remnants on the board equals at least half of the number of hot tiles revealed currently. So as of right now, Act 2 won't trigger, because in order for it to trigger, we need to have 1 more remnant tile out. We currently have 2, and if there's 5 hot tiles in play, that's not at least half yet. So we would need to get to that 3rd one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move with my 4 movement in the desert area and go 1, and then we're going to go 2, and when we get to this location, we immediately have to reveal hot tile adjacent to us. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a hot tile. Now this doesn't necessarily make the odds any better for us, because whether we had 5 hot tiles or 6 hot tiles, half still would require 3 remnants. So it's not doing too much, but it is helping us a bit. And I also kind of wanted to show you a little bit more of the actual area here as well. So we got this one, which is pretty cool. So we were looking to go after one of the really heavy bosses. We have that option. This is the first time we're seeing this mission marker, so that's a thing as well. It might be worth it to kind of jam these things in here like this so that we have a chance to get up close and personal with them and quicker. So we'll go like that for now. And that's going to be it. And with the final 2 movement, I'm going to go here and then finally right here, because we are going to try to use the extraction tools that we got in the prior video in order to extract as many crystals here as we possibly can. One note that I want to make before continuing on is that I didn't show this on camera at the time, but I did decrease the amount of food based on the strange cavern that we found and the lost ruins, which was a total of 4 food consumed when we finished that caravan event that got us back to these or to this wasteland. But remember, because we have the survival kit, it reduces 1 off those requirements, so it only took 3 food. So I dropped myself from 8 where I was down to 5. I just wanted to show that visually to make sure you understood that that it actually happened behind the scenes. And speaking of the survival kit also in the movement phase gives you back 1 health to your current health allotment, which is already maxed for me at 14, so I don't need it, but also gives me back an energy. So I have gone ahead and upticked that by 1 and only 1. So we're up to 4, which is still not a ton of energy. I might want to think about using another item that I have to increase my energy levels at this point. Time for the skills phase. We're going to roll off all 3 dice because we chose normal movement. We have a 6 in navigate, a 3 in explore, and a 3 in survival. Let's see how this pans out. Okay, that's actually pretty good. Wow, that's really good. I think I just literally passed all 3 of my checks. I'm not joking you, these dice are not weighted. That's ridiculous. I didn't expect to get all 3 of those. Okay, so that is going to be a perfect navigation, meaning we do not wander, so that's great. In terms of the survival, we are not going to be consuming any food, but again, there's a rule in the game that when you're in the waste, you do consume food, but when you have the survival kit, you reduce that by 1, so it doesn't happen anyway, so no actual food consumption whatsoever, as we've been playing through the entire playthrough so far. Explore-wise, we gain some gold, which is great. We're going to gain 2 gold. So we're going from 21 to 23, which is not bad at all. And that's it. We basically way past succeeded on that skill check. Being that we're inside of a remnant that has a crystal tower, we skip past the circumstance phase and into the event phase, where we know that remnants are dangerous, and because they are, they're radioactive, as we've learned before. So we're going to have the irradiated 5 condition hit us, but we can also choose to take a mutation. So I'm going to go ahead and choose to take the mutation because, well, I'm a little crazy. I ended up pulling Frost Touch. This says you channel intense cold through your fingertips. You can see here there's a -1 on my energy, so that's unfortunate. When using your attack action, you may deal an additional 8 piercing energy damage. That's crazy. Each Frost Touch mutation you possess increases the energy damage dealt by 8. And then we go ahead and resolve the icons in the bottom right. But first, before resolving those icons, we have to ensure we can actually keep the mutation, and we do by reducing our actual vital and our current energy, in this case by -1. So I dropped from a 4 to a 3 and a 14 to a 13. So I want to do a better job of explaining this icon area here on the mutation card, because the first time I explained it, I may have explained it incorrectly. It looks like you gain a power-up card and you gain a +1 to the second mastery, but actually how it works is it's kind of an ongoing stackable thing that happens while you have this mutation. Basically, any time that you get a power-up, which we know is resembled by that particular icon or card, and it actually ends up, when you flip it, being a second mastery bump up in the skill. So for instance, I'm at a 2, and if I flipped one of these power-up cards over and it said bump up your second mastery by 1, because I have Frost Touch mutation and it has a +1 beside this exact same ability, that would go up an additional 1. So if I was going up by 1, I'd actually go up by 2. So that means I'd be jumping from a 2 on my player board up to a 4. And that's how those mutation power-up bonuses work. You'll also want to dive into the rulebook to learn more about mutation copies. So in other words, having a duplicate of a mutation that you already possess. So if you gain an additional one, what happens in those situations? So there's a rulebook entry for those that I definitely recommend you check out so that you ensure you're playing them correctly. And now we get to go ahead and try to harvest this crystal from this deposit or remnant. So what we're going to do is roll like we did last time we did this with this pyramid die. However, we have the extraction tools, and the rule state for extraction tools, it's going to gain 2 additional Ravager crystals on top of whatever you roll. So let's go ahead and find out what that ends up being. Come on, 4. That's what I want to see. 2. Okay, well, I guess I called it. It technically ends up being 4 with the bonus of 2. So if I go ahead and take a look at my Ravager crystals that I already have, you'll see I have 4. We're going to be jumping that total up to 8. The extraction tools also allow us to mine what is called an ancient crystal deposit from one of these remnants. And when we do, we just choose to do so, being that we have the extraction tools. We take a hex actual hex tiles right here, which might be different in the final version in terms of appearance, and we're going to place it on this. But first we want to go ahead and flip this over because we have pulled out the crystals now, so it's just a remnant. It's no longer a crystal tower, and we place this hex on top of it to basically just say we've gone ahead and we've mined that ancient crystal deposit. We'll mention that on our in our backpack, because currently from what I can see on the battle map there isn't anywhere to put that just yet, but you can only carry one at a time anyway, so this is likely a resource that might be referenced throughout the game material at some point in time, where you can spend this to potentially gain something. That's something I'll have to discover, and you'll have to discover when you play through the Sands of Shurax. And now we move into the Ravager or villain phase again, and you might be thinking, well, nothing should happen, right? Because we haven't triggered act number 2. Well, I really hope I haven't lulled you into some safety net where you feel like nothing bad can happen, because it's coming back, and I want to explain why. So the reason I told you why act 2 will trigger is because there's 2 levels to this whole Ravager thing. First off, there's the act level, and every act has a different triggering event to bring the Ravager in, but then has a different cycle within it. So what we've seen so far during this Kickstarter preview is we've seen the Ravager trigger act 1, which took quite a bit actually, but when it did finally trigger, it appeared on one round. The following round, it paused and did nothing, and on the round after, it went under, and we saw it go under, and that was how we were able to actually go ahead and interact with this remnant here. So until act number 2 triggers, we continue what's called a cycle, essentially. So that cycle of 3 things is going to occur over and over and over again as the Ravager moves around in the waste during act number 1 until we trigger act 2, which I did mention is having at least half of the number of hot tiles in remnants, which we don't have right now. We have 2 remnants and 6 hot tiles. We need 3 currently, unless of course we go ahead and discover even more hot tiles, then we can delay that second act from occurring, but it doesn't necessarily delay the Ravager from coming out, and that's where you might have thought we were safe. So what's going to happen right now is the Ravager is going to continue its cycle from act number 1, meaning it's going to appear again. But things are different this time around. It's not just going to guaranteed start on the initial tile. Things are going to change up a little bit based on the wandering die. We know that the Ravager popped up and went under on the initial tile, so that's the first tile that we start from. And from there, we grab this hex die, which is our wandering die. We're going to roll it and determine if it wanders into any of these other quadrants around it. So we'll go ahead and roll. We got ourselves a 1, and as you can see based on this right here, that's going to send it this way. So based on how these tiles are situated, I'm going to go ahead and have the Ravager appear in this area right here. So now we have to roll a 4-sided pyramid die to determine the orientation or the 3 hexes that it's going to sit inside. We got a 2, so that's going to have it sit further over here. It is now popped up over here. Now, if this creature ever pops up on the actual place that we're standing, then the heroes can choose to actually attack this thing or can flee and move 1 space adjacent away from it. So now we go ahead and begin a brand new turn, and I've got my eye on something that I think is extremely cool. This card that you're seeing in front of you is the back of the current available mission for the city of Tari. And the reason I'm excited for this is this. It says special. You'll notice, the Crystal Tower picture there. Interesting. What does that have to do with anything? Well, since the arrival of the Ravager, the Tarians have been hard at work building something massive under their mountain. And Emperor Noko, remember Emperor Noko from the Battle of the Enslaver dwarf here? He had kind of alignment with that particular city. Well, Emperor Noko has issued a new Tarian decree, and he says, travelers shall be rewarded generously for Ravager crystals delivered to them. Bring them for your reward. This mission does not expire, so it's going to sit there as an option. The mission we can just go after all the time. That's pretty awesome. Gain this mission's reward for every 4 Ravager crystals delivered to the city-state of Tari. So that's pretty awesome, because if I go ahead and deliver 6, I'm going to be able to essentially be able to convert those into platinum. I gain some gold, and I also power up on top of it. Also, it's important to remember at the very beginning of the rewards for this mission, if we happen to do this, reputation is the first thing that changes, and then we go down the row. Now, Tari currently is not close to us. It's way the heck over here, but I did gain an item on my Caravan travels earlier in the video called a teleport scroll, and I can go ahead and use that scroll to move to any event-based location that I choose. And I'm going to go ahead, knowing that this is the finale, and again, I might keep this if I was playing this long-term because that's a really powerful item, but I'm going to use it to save time to shoot me straight to the city. So we're going to teleport all the way over here to this city number 3, which is Tari. And this is a one-time use teleportation scroll, so I do lose it now. It is now gone. But the great news is I'm here. I'm still in my movement phase. I'm going to choose to camp at this point. So knowing that I'm going to go ahead and camp, I heal at 3 extra health and energy. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Just so you're aware, my energy went from a 3 to a 6. And now we're going to go ahead and roll. We get a -1 to our roll here when we check against our Explore and Survival. We do not have to roll Navigate because, again, we're camping. And I used a scroll to get to where I am, so I never even moved. Technically, I did move, but I didn't have to actually roll the Navigate die for that movement. So I got myself a 7, which gets reduced to a 6. That is still going to be a fail on the survival one. The gold one, on the other hand, goes from a 4 to a 3. That's actually a pass. So we're going to gain some gold. So I'm going to go from 23 to 25 gold. And then I'm going to have to consume some food, which is equal to my rating. So it'll go from a 5 down to a 4. One thing that I just noticed, which I have no idea how I completely missed it, was I didn't even gain my skills and my extra gold when I originally moved with the Caravan Master at the beginning of the video. I'm sure there's somebody out there, at least one person was like, you missed out on all that stuff. That's okay. It's not going to impact the gameplay. As again, this is more of a preview than an actual full playthrough that I normally do. But I do want to make note of the fact that I do know that I didn't actually put those extra bonuses into my character. So what I'm going to do is retroactively going to go ahead and update a couple of them. Again, it's skills. So it has to be upgrades to Navigate, Explore, and Survival. It has to be 2 skills, 2 different ones at 1+ each, and then 1 other skill, which could be the same as one of the other ones, for an extra 1. So I'm going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to bump up my Survival and my Explore from 3 and 3 to 4 and 4. And then I'm going to bump up maybe my Survival from a 4 to a 5. And it's perfect timing anyway, give myself 2 more gold, because then when I'm going to the city, I'll have even more gold. So 27. All right, so at least I caught that then. Again, this might have impacted some of the prior rolls. I do apologize for that. This hurts me more than anything else, so it's not like I'm gaining anything on the game itself, but do want to let you know that I definitely missed that. As I mentioned earlier, in terms of the food consumption, I did catch that. Somehow, I just got too excited to get back to the waste. So we have arrived at the Scorched Lands of Tari. The Emperor Noko is a tyrant who has lost his humanity. He is terrifying and rules with an iron fist. In subsequent skill phases, we're going to skip the skill phases if we happen to stick around the city here. We've got schooling and sparring, which we would get a discount at if we happen to have reputation that actually aligned, which we don't. We're more up in the top right-hand corner. And we also get extra money if we were aligned, and we're not. Below this, we have the arena. This is a really big deal here in Tari, is the arena. And based on a recognition level, whether we're unknown, recognized, famous, celebrated, ascendant, or legendary, different things are going to happen. Different money can be gained. We've got some tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 type things that can happen in the arena. So all very cool. I'm not going to get into that in this particular playthrough, as those could go on, but it's a really cool aspect to explore, and I have checked this out off camera as well. We'll also go down further into the city to see what else we can do here. So we have this, Danger the Mines. At the end of the event phase, if the group's reputation is either rebellious or righteous, and I'm righteous, which is the top right-hand quadrant, each hero who has a mutation is taken to the mines. I have a mutation, that's not good. Suffer 2 energy drain at the end of each turn. Heroes in the mines cannot access their backpack, food, or gold, and the group may not move. To break free, we have to face the guards before the event event phase. Heroes who break free from the mines regain their equipment. So essentially it says this triggers at the end of the event phase. So because we've actually come here, we are going to have this occur to us unless in some miraculous fashion we can whip our reputation from one side to not be currently sitting in these top two sections of rebellious or righteous. The other thing we can do here is employ patrol. You may accept bribes by policing Terry as one of their soulless guards. You may either free an ally from the mines or roll the pyramid and gain the result as gold. This die cannot hexplode. Roll any die after performing this profession. If you roll an odd number, the group's reputation moves one closer to Tari. Okay. Interesting. So that's a potential thing. Down below we have Shady Tavern, another place to stay, the Scorched Stone, and Phoenix Breath. So a couple things here that we can pick up if we so chose. The first thing I want to do here in the city is this special mission, which is allowing me to put the 6 Ravager Crystals that I brought here. I actually have 8, but I'm going to be spending 6 and delivering them to this city to gain a reputation. So this is going to actually change the reputation on the track here, and it's actually going to shuffle it down 1. So we're going to go ahead and move my marker. Now this doesn't get us out of trouble just yet. So it's going to put us down to 1 away from being right on the neutral border or the 0 line of this reputation track, which could be helpful to avoid being taken away. We also gain 6 platinum, so again off screen I'm going to adjust that as well. So we are now going from 1 to a total of 7. Now this gold's only gained if your reputation matches, and mine doesn't yet, so I don't gain anything there, but I do at this moment get a power-up cards. Let's go ahead and reveal the top one off the deck. And we got ourselves Navigate +2. So we're going to be bumping that up. We're doing pretty good in the Navigate column. So we're going from a 6 up to a total of 8. So with all that said, this is currently how my player board looks as of where we're at right now. Now, what's of interest here is where my reputation currently sits, which is literally 1 drop south of being on the borderline. And remember, it states that I have to be up in the righteous category or the rebellious category at the end of this in order to actually be taken to the mines. So if I do something like, for instance, maybe as my city event to avoid that happening, I can employ myself as a patrol. It says you may accept bribes by policing Tari as one of their soulless guards, as I mentioned. You may either free an ally from the mines, but I don't have any allies in the mines, or roll a pyramid die and gain the result as gold. So let's go ahead and do that. The reason I'm even doing this is because after it, it says if you roll an odd number, the group's reputation moves 1 closer to Tari. That's what I'm hoping for. So if I roll an odd number here, this is going to avoid me going to the mine. So it's worth it for me to at least try. Yes, that worked out perfectly. Okay, so we're going to be able to adjust our reputation. We also gain 3 gold as well. So I want to show you guys exactly where we are on the reputation track. You can see we're literally right on the line. We're neither righteous nor cruel. And only if we're actually in the righteous or rebellious areas are we taken to the mines. So we literally, it's just so cool that thematically worked out for us that we were considered righteous when we came in, but then after handing over the Ravager Crystals for some wealth and some reputation change and some platinum, we lost some of that righteousness. And then on top of it, when we went ahead and decided to be employed in the city as our main action and actually, basically tax individuals and things like that and gain some gold that way, we were able to again adjust our reputation because people just don't like us and we're all about money. And we dropped down to the point that we're almost cruel now, which is just below us. So in other words, we're not going to be taken to the mines. It's the end of the event phase. This doesn't happen to us anymore, which is great. And we're able to basically move from the event phase now to the Ravager's phase. And as we know for act number 1, the Ravager is going to stay just where it is. It's going to pause for this particular round. In the next round, it will go under and create another crystal tower. And that's going to conclude the Kickstarter preview playthrough of the Sands of Shurax. I really hope you guys are able to make an informed decision on the game based on what you've seen over the last few videos. Again, I may have made some mistakes along the way. Some timing on some of those things might have been off, but I really hope you get a feel for the flow of the game itself. There is quite a bit to keep track of here, but I do know from the previous entries or volumes in this line of products that once you've played through this a number of times, this stuff becomes second nature. But some of the new mechanisms built within Sands of Shurax really add a whole element that wasn't in the prior versions that I really like. And this Ravager mechanic of kind of going under and destroying things and altering the actual game map really opens up the replayability of the game, which I really like, because not only are you discovering the actual wastelands as you go along, but they're actually being destroyed. There's also win conditions in the game that actually have you being very evil and actually purposely trying to bring the Ravager to cities to take all 4 cities down, which is just, I think, such a cool, another way to win. And again, you can try to go the money route, you can try to go the destructive route. There's multiple different ways to pull off a win condition in this thing. And I think that lends itself to being a really interesting solo playable game. And I think it is building itself in a way that every single iteration of HEXplore It continues to become more and more refined and more engaging as it goes along. Plus the thematic elements start tying in really nicely. So again, I really hope this playthrough helped you guys out. Thank you guys so much for watching and all the feedback that I got along the way and anything that's going to come from this one. And as always, keep on rolling solo.